Welcome to A More Brilliant Life. We share inspiring stories from people who hit rock bottom, faced their challenges, and transformed their lives. Learn how you can rise above expectations, discover who you are, and reclaim your future.
So when he died and when I got arrested, I was sitting in the jail cell in North Carolina. And I was just like, how in the hell did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what in my mind thought it was okay to hang out with a person that was still actively doing drugs? Like, why was that normal for me? You know, I was facing like 20 years in prison. Wow. It was really scary.
Welcome, Jenny Mitich, to A More Brilliant Life podcast. This is the podcast where we talk through people's life transformations, life transitions, and you know, I'm really just interested in where you came from and how you got to where you are today and what that experience was like. And so, Jenny, let's just start it off. I'm interested to hearing more about you. Obviously, we know the amazing content creator that you are today. But like, how did you get there? Let's back it up and let's start from the beginning. Yeah.
We'll start from the beginning. I was born in Rockford, Illinois. So about an hour away from where I'm living now. Grew up in a middle-class family. My mom cleaned houses for a living. My dad was a mechanic. So we weren't poor, but we were not rich. We got by. We were very happy. I have a little brother, 2 years younger. It was just the four of us growing up. Pretty normal, Midwestern, 90s childhood, nothing crazy. I had some bullying in like fifth grade that really, I think, started to affect me later on down the road. I had terrible acne growing up, so I got made fun of for it. But then I went into a creative and performing arts program in Rockford at, where was it? There was two different schools. There was the junior high version and the high school version. And basically it was just theater, art, dance, orchestra, and choir. You had to like try out for the program and stuff. So I got into that in sixth grade and I did that through high school. So that was formative as well. I have an itchy nose. It's driving me crazy. But around the age of 13, I started to have some depression, some anxiety, and I started getting into drugs and alcohol. The friend group I was hanging out with, we were started smoking cigarettes and just, you know, we were bad kids.
Mm-hmm.
But that eventually evolved into, I was doing fine in school. So like my parents had no idea. But I was hanging out with kind of a crowd that was into all that. And then that eventually evolved into like when I was 15, I got a fake ID and started going to bars. When I was 16 was the first time I tried other drugs, like cocaine, pills, you know, basically whatever was available.
And what do you think led you into that? I mean, what were some of the underlying thoughts? You don't know. Uh-huh.
I mean, it was just the thing to do in Rockford. Uh-huh. It was very boring. But I think it was also the group of people that I was hanging out with. Mm-hmm. The people that you spend the most time with are going to influence your life. And we were all getting high and getting drunk. And that was like the core of what we wanted to do with our time. Mm-hmm. So by the time I hit 18 and graduated from high school, I got my own place. That first year, you know, it was just a party house, whatever. But at 19 was when I really fell into heroin addiction. So back in the day, this was in the early 2000s, so a long time ago. Oxycontin was a big deal in the U.S. And that was kind of like, I had some friends that were able to get a hold of some pills and we would like snort those on the weekends, but they were very expensive, like $80 a pill or something. It was wild. So then that same friend that was able to find the pills found heroin, which is much, much cheaper initially. Yeah. So then it wasn't everybody. It was a smaller group of people that did heroin, myself included. And I think I was in full-blown heroin addiction by the time I was probably 20. Yeah.
And have you heard how has your friends group ended up? Have they pulled through it like you have, or
the ones that did heroin, they're mostly dead. Most of them. Wow. Yeah. The ones that were just drinking and smoking weed and, you know, all that kind of stuff, most of them are good. Some are still, you know, doing the same thing we were doing 20 years ago. That kind of always is how it goes. But a lot of them got their act together and are normal, like me,
Mm-hmm.
working
So
and just living a normal life.
how long was the heroin addiction then?
Gosh, let's see. 19 and a half, 20 is when it really started. I went to my first rehab at 21, turning 22. I went to 3 rehabs, probably like 5 or 6 years, something like that.
Wow.
On and
And
off,
was
because,
there? Mhm.
yeah, because like with the rehabs, I had periods of clean time in between. So it wasn't just like 6 years straight.
Okay. So, and how many times did you go into rehab and then
Rehab.
relapse and back and forth?
Yeah, so I did 3 rehabs. The very first one, I call it starter rehab. It was like
Uh-huh.
basic 35-day, went through a detox that was pretty terrible. The thing with heroin addiction that makes it different than all the others is the detoxification period lasts up to 10 days, and it's terrible. Now, the first time I went through it, I did it cold turkey. They now have medications. I mean, they have methadone, but that I wasn't gonna go that route. Suboxone, it came out during my second rehab, and that's a way that you can get off of heroin without having to suffer from the really, really horrible detoxification period. So that was the first one. I probably stayed clean for like 4 months after that one.
Okay.
Fell back into it, did it for another like year and a half, and then went to another rehab. That one was about 40 days long. And then after that, I went to a halfway house for 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to, stay clean. Got home after that, relapsed again, and then ended up probably like 6 months, 6 to 8 months I was back out there. And then I went to my final rehab. That was about a year long. So this
Okay.
place was down in Peoria, Illinois, central Illinois, and it was for hardcore drug addicts, of which
Mm-hmm.
I was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a whole program. We had all these different counselors. You lived in the unit, and there was 3 different, like, you stepped down in like how hardcore the treatments were. Like the first, I don't know, 6 months you were in one section, and then you could graduate to a, I guess, lower amount. You had more privileges. Like you could get a job, you could, and then you moved to the 3rd level, and then after that, you were able to get out. So I did that. I did have a relapse while I was in there, but that wasn't one of the programs where they would just like kick you out and you could never come back if you relapsed. They understood that that's part of the recovery process. It's very rare that anybody just gets off of heroin and then never does it again. There's almost always relapses. So I relapsed, left for a month, came back, stayed in for another 3, and then I graduated, came back home to Rockford, and quickly figured out that I just couldn't be in Rockford at that time. They always say people, places, and things. You have to change that stuff in order to really, solidify the recovery. So I ended up going to Asheville, North Carolina, of all places.
Yeah.
I had a family member that I don't even remember how I picked it. I think my stepdad had some family there or something, and I had looked up photos, and it's beautiful. I've always loved the mountains. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna move there. So back then, I went on Craigslist and found a roommate randomly. Yeah, I know, it's so wild.
Nice.
It's
No.
something I would never do now.
Uh-huh.
Like what? So yeah, I talked to this guy on the phone, and drove down there and moved in and lived there
Cool.
for about a year. Yeah, wild.
So was there like a rock bottom moment for you that like, or at least at like the first rehab that you went into, was like, what was the triggering, like, I'm at rock bottom moment where like you
Sure.
woke up and said, I need to change.
I didn't wake up and say that I needed to change. I wanted to do heroin forever.
Wow.
My family had an intervention on me.
Okay.
Yes. So one morning I was leaving because I lived at my dad's house at the time. I kind of went back and forth from being homeless or having my own place or staying at my dad's because my mom would not let me live with her. And I was about to leave to go get my drugs, and my dad came out and said, "Hey, your grandma just called. She sounds really weird. Like, I think she's like having a heart attack or something. Can you come with me over there? And I'm like, of course. You know, I love my grandma. So we went over there, and I walk in, and she was not having a heart attack. My whole family walked out. It was like a legit intervention, like you'd see on that TV show where they all read their letters and stuff. And I was so angry, so angry. And they just took me to rehab right then. So no, I did not have any choice in the matter the first time. The second and third times I made the choice to go. So yeah.
Okay. And was there an epiphany moment within yourself where
like for going to rehab? I mean, it just got to the point where it was just like I didn't want to live that way anymore. It's exhausting because with heroin, like you have to do it several times a day. Otherwise, you get really sick. You can't not do it, and it's exhausting. It's basically your whole life is just finding money and finding drugs. And it was terrible. It was terrible. So yeah, after the first rehab, I went through that, had a good experience being clean, made some friends in the NA program, which is kind of like AA, but for Narcotics Anonymous. Yeah, I got a taste of like, oh, okay, life doesn't have to be this way. So I think that's kind of what inspired it. And I'd always, I didn't want to be a drug addict forever. That was never the plan to fall into it. So yeah, I don't know that I had any kind of like, I never had a lot of, I knew I wanted to get a bachelor's degree. But I didn't have a lot of direction in my early years. Like I had a lot of things I enjoyed doing. I loved reading. I loved theater. I loved creating things. I love video and photography and things like that. But like, I don't know. I felt like I was just kind of like skating through life with no real direction. So that's just kind of like fell into the drugs. And then that's just what I did for a long time. So yeah, that was that.
Yeah. And for me, I love thinking about, the parallel universes of like, what would I be like if I had grown up, XYZ or whatever. And I grew up in rural Minnesota. So like I grew up in a very small town, and like, if you found out somebody had like marijuana or something, like that was a big deal.
Right.
But like I could totally imagine. I mean, and what kind of blows my mind is that like, people like you and I, we grew up in loving families, in like in just with average lives, and yet some people, and myself included, like choose to self-sabotage, choose to take these paths that sometimes on the surface just don't make any sense. And there too, I sometimes I think about it myself. I'm like, what on earth do I have to be depressed about? Like, I don't have anything to be depressed about. And so like that in itself, it like feeds in on itself. It's like, well, right. I'm depressed. Now I'm depressed because I am depressed. And it like turns into this.
Well, I mean, there's also the aspect cycle of it being a chemical thing, I mean, when I look back at my life back then, I mean, I didn't have anything specifically to be depressed about. I mean, the bullying was pretty severe, so I think that was kind of a start to it. Mm-hmm. But then once you go down the drugs and alcohol rabbit hole, that in and of itself also messes with your brain chemistry. And as a child, because that's what I was, as you're with a growing brain, it messes with your neural pathways and your brain chemistry and all that kind of stuff. So then it's just kind of like you're self-medicating to feel better, but then that is making you worse in the long run. So yeah, it's just like self-perpetuating. And then of course, I mean, no one starts doing heroin thinking like, oh, I'm going to be addicted and I'm going to ruin my life. It feels good. I mean, it's an incredible feeling. And that's why anybody would do it, but it's not, later on, once you're addicted, you realize like, oh, okay, now I'm stuck. So it's kind of a horrible trap,
Yeah. So what advice would you have for society then in terms of like not creating another Jenny Mitich going into heroin type thing? You know what I mean? Like, do you blame the bullying? Do you blame where's like, who is to blame, or like what is to be done?
I'm to blame. It's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the
Yeah.
one that made that choice. I was,
Mhm.
a kid, but I take full responsibility for my actions. It is what it is. And I wouldn't be where I am today without having gone through that experience. It was formative. I mean, as far as like society goes, it all started because of Oxycontin, which, that's what started the whole heroin crisis in the United States. So when I did heroin, it was much different than it was now, like it is now. So like it wasn't spiked with anything back then. Nowadays, people are dying left and right because of fentanyl and all this other stuff. There's this crazy like zombie stuff that's being put in it now that like makes your skin like have these horrible welts and stuff. We didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff back in the early 2000s. I think prevention, it goes a long way because once you're hooked, it's
Mhm.
hard. It's very, very hard. It's not impossible. Obviously, I'm living proof that you can be clean. I've been clean for, 15 years or something like that. But it's just better to just not start in the first place. So I think parents having frank conversations with their children. I think perhaps I worked at a church for a long time, and we would do monthly, like feeding the homeless, like soup kitchen outings.
Mhm.
And a lot of the people that came in to get food were drug addicted. So I think it's good for kids to see like, okay, this is the consequence of it.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the time it can be romanticized in media or in music or things like that. Like some of my favorite bands like Nirvana, Kurt Cobain was a heroin addict. So it was kind of romanticized, but kids need to see the real consequences of it. So I think
Mhm.
that's really important. And then just addressing childhood trauma, you
Mhm.
know, uh, the bullying and all that kind of stuff for me. But so many people that self-medicate with drugs and alcohol are dealing with trauma. Most people in the prison system had some kind of childhood trauma before the age of 18. There's a reason that these things are going on. So I think that's really important to focus on.
And so I guess I want to ask one more follow-up question on that is like, how do you stop the bullying? How do you like what should be done there? Is it the teachers? Is it the parents? Is it the parents of the person doing the bullying? Like what's the
Yeah.
action step there? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, typically the kids that are bullying other kids, something's going on at home. It's the parents. Um, sometimes, sometimes though, like a kid that's been bullied then becomes a bully, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not really because of the parents. But these little jerk kids are typically it's because of their parents, in
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
honestly, I don't have the answer to that. We're homeschooling our kids.
Yeah.
Specifically, that's one of the reasons
Mm-hmm.
is just the intense bullying. Like when I was growing up, we didn't have the internet. Like AOL 1.0 came out when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of straddled the line between, a digital life and a just, normal non-digital life. So analog life, I should say. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want my kids to have cell phones at 10. I don't want my kids looking at porn at a young
Yeah.
age. I don't want them stuck to screens all the time. I don't want them bullied. I don't want them to get shot in class just going to school. And I can't protect my kids at schools anymore. It's just a completely different world than when we were kids. But also, my kids are wildly smart. They'd be so bored. They started reading at 2.5.
Wow.
Like they're like legit reading, and they're turning 4 in a month. So yeah,
That's incredible.
we're gonna homeschool it.
Yeah, we pulled our kids out of the American school system and moved to Costa Rica and put them into a private bilingual school down here.
Sweet.
And they're in a class of, let's see, my daughter's in 6th grade. She's in a class of a total of like 11 other, like that's the entire class. My other
It's
daughter's
awesome.
in 5th grade, and I think her class is about the same size, maybe just a touch smaller, like
Yeah,
10 kids.
I'd be
Super
open
smart.
to something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a couple of programs I follow on Instagram where there's different cohorts in different countries, and you go there for 6 months or for a year at a time. And
Hmm.
are in a very small group of other digital nomads or something like that. I'm totally down for that, some kind of hybrid thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
public school as it exists today in the United States, I don't think it's serving really anybody. I don't think it's educating very well. And we travel so much that I'm not going to pull my kids out of school every time we're going on a trip. So
okay. So let's get back on the story then. So you went through about 5-6-ish years of addiction. What came next? You moved to Asheville, North Carolina, and
so there was a big light switch flip moment for me. I moved down to North Carolina, but I wasn't doing heroin, but I also wasn't like thriving or anything. I was working at Denny's as a waitress and a manager. I was drinking every day. If I could find some drugs, I would do them, occasionally, just kind of floating through life. And I came home to celebrate Christmas with my family, but in January because I couldn't come home because of work. And I ended up getting together with my friend that had originally gotten us all on heroin in the first place. And he was still, doing drugs and doing his thing, whatever. He ended up getting some drugs, which was not abnormal, for him. And that night he ended up overdosing and dying at my dad's house while I was sleeping. So, it was terrible. Woke up, called 911, all this stuff. It was horrible, 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 horrible. I went back to North Carolina, continued, living my life, and found out that, 7 months later, I ended up getting arrested for murder for my friend.
Wow.
Wild, in North Carolina, because I was in the vehicle when he purchased the drugs that killed him that night. I ended up going to jail for 4 months awaiting a bond reduction hearing. So I was in North Carolina in jail for like 3 weeks, and then I had to be driven to Rockford, where the case was. So I was in the back of a van, a prison transport vehicle, for like 2.5, 3 days, while they went all over the United States picking up and dropping off other people. It was horrible. And then I was in the Winnebago County Jail for 3 months, awaiting a bond reduction hearing because everything moves very slowly. So I ended up getting out of jail, on pretrial probation, and fought the case for, another year or something like that. And in that time, I immediately upon getting out of jail, I started volunteering at my grandma's church, which was the church that I eventually started to work at. And I went back to school that summer. So when he died and when I got arrested, I was sitting in the jail cell in North Carolina. And I was just like, how in the hell did I get here? What in my mind thought it was okay to hang out with a person that was still actively doing drugs? Why was that normal for me? I was facing 20 years in prison.
Wow.
It was really scary. So I did a lot of writing, and I've always been a big writer, writing and journaling in jail, and just trying to figure out okay, if I ever get out of here, I gotta change my life. This is ridiculous. So I did. I got out of jail and hit the ground running. I started volunteering at the church, and I would just do whatever they needed me to do, clean up things or organize, their whole craft room for the Sunday school or whatever. And that eventually turned into, I got hired as the membership secretary. So I started working there while going to school and stuff and fighting the case.
And so what age are we talking here? From 15 to 25? Is that roughly the age
15
range?
to 26 was when I was really doing a lot of drugs and all that kind of stuff. 26, 27 is when all this stuff happened with the case.
Okay.
I think around there, somewhere around there. I think I was 28 when the case got finished. 28, 29. It's so long ago. I honestly can't remember completely.
Well, it feels like you've lived several lifetimes, to be honest. It feels like you've had several lives.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, that whole period of time is crazy. I ended up pleading guilty to involuntary manslaughter. We got to a point in the case where it was either go to trial or it was just if the judge said, if she pleads guilty to this charge, involuntary manslaughter, I'll give her 2.5 years probation, and that's it. It's done. Or go to trial, spend another $20,000, which my family put on a credit card. We don't have that kind of money, Also, the stress of fighting a case like that, I had severe anxiety every day. It was scary. So I was just like, I'll take it, whatever. So I did my 2.5 years probation with flying colors. I graduated valedictorian at my associate's degree. I did the commencement speech. And then I went on to get my bachelor's. When I did my bachelor's degree at North Central College in Naperville, I ended up getting a grant, something called the Richter Grant, to go and study prison systems in Norway and Finland and compare them to the United States. Obviously, I had been in jail, not prison, county jail for 4 months, so I had a bit of experience with it. So I was really interested to see how they do things differently there, because it's completely different. So I ended up going to Norway and touring one of their maximum security prisons, completely different than ours. I toured a women's open prison in Finland. And then I came back and toured a prison in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which had kind of more of a rehabilitative slant to it. Nowhere near, the Nordic model, but it was interesting. So it was kind of a full circle moment for me. I ended up doing a TEDx talk on my research at my college right before I graduated. So it was just kind of like, man, how far have I come, where I was sitting in a jail cell, 5 years ago, and now I'm speaking about prison reform, on a stage. It was wild, dude. Craziness.
Cool.
During that time, I ended up getting hired as the director of youth development at that same church. And everyone at the church knew my story. Like, it wasn't a secret. And that was really important. I'm always very open and honest about my background, because you don't ever want to lie about stuff like that. It can come back to haunt you. So I always get it out front and center. Just this is what happened. And they were all very supportive. Christ United Methodist Church in Rockford, Illinois. Amazing group of people there. So I worked there for 6 years while I was working my way through my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
And I ended up graduating. I was going to go to law school. That was my next step. But I took some time off to build like an internet business. I had my own products on Amazon and things like that. Took some time off and ended up starting a YouTube channel in 2020. So that was kind of like 2 years after I had, moved on from the youth director position.
Yeah, no, but like what I love about your story is you are living, breathing truth that like people can change. Like it's a very transformative, like you are 180 degrees from the person you once were. And I think that's the story that so many people miss, especially the people like in the middle ground that maybe don't have such an extreme story of drug addiction and things like that. But like the people in the middle that sometimes just get so stuck in their lives and don't realize that their lives can be different. And they just kind of fall into the Groundhog's Day mentality of your 9-to-5 job and people just forget to dream. They forget to think about what's possible, really.
Yeah.
But so then the YouTube channel that you started in 2020, was that the Carnivore channel or no, that was a different one?
No, I have 4 YouTube channels. So the very first one was a camping and outdoor adventure channel. So like hot tent camping, hiking, things like that. I grew up, my dad was a Boy Scout leader. My grandfather was the scout master of the Rockford Boy Scouts. I grew up camping. I love camping. It's a thing that we do. So I started with that. In 2020, I feel like a lot of people started YouTube channels. There wasn't a lot going on with the pandemic. So did the YouTube thing and, it was fun. I learned a lot. And then we ended up buying an Airstream in November of 2020 and a vintage Airstream to fix up. So we started a second YouTube channel called Goran and Jen. That's Airstream renovation and travel channel. So we worked on that for a while. And then I got pregnant. We decided to go the kid route which was never in my plans. Like, we planned it. It was a planned pregnancy, but like, I never wanted kids. I think I love kids. I worked with kids. They're great, but like, I never saw myself as a mom. It was never something I wanted to do, even as a little kid. So we got pregnant, and lo and behold, it was twins, naturally. And no twins run on either side of our family.
Oh, wow.
So that, was basically 2021, became a mom. And when I became a mom, I was like, well, I can't really go camping, and we're definitely not going traveling in the Airstream. So I love creating video content. So I'm going to make a third channel called Jenny Mitich. That's just like a twin mom lifestyle channel. And that's what it was for the first year or so of their life. I started Carnivore in December of 2022.
Okay.
So at that time, I was wearing a continuous glucose monitor, like I still do. I was just, trying to get some more data, because I've always loved data and nerd stuff like that. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try the carnivore diet. I had a ton of weight still to lose from the twin pregnancy, like 50 pounds still to lose. And I was miserable. So I started it with how much weight am I going to lose? What's going to happen to my glucose? And I lost 8 pounds, and my glucose dropped by like 20 points. Wow. So I was hooked at that point. And then I filmed a 30-day carnivore update and a 90-day carnivore update that I released on Jenny Mitich in June of 2023 together at the same time. So that, because I had no other carnivore content on my channel, and I do a lot of research. Like, I did a lot of like how to succeed on YouTube, and like how to become better, and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the advice said, if you don't have anything else in that particular niche, make sure you have another video so it can kind of feed.
Okay.
And those videos took off. Like blew up. So then a few months later is when I just transitioned this channel over to just carnivore content. And now it's my full-time job. This is literally what I do for a living. I just wrote a book that's coming out in like 3 weeks. And I help thousands of people improve their metabolic health. Complete accident. But that's what I do.
Oh, so, that's insane. So when did you meet your husband then? Was this, and what's your husband's name? Sorry.
His name is Goran. He's Serbian American, so he's first generation American. His parents emigrated here from Serbia, which used to be Yugoslavia back then. So Goran and I met in 2017.
Okay.
So we met online, Match.com, and neither of us was looking for love. We were just, looking to have some fun, hang out, go on dates, whatever. He was going through a divorce, and I was just, living my life. I was, 30. How old was I? God, I'm 41 now. I was like 32, 33. Wow. Yeah. I was having a good time then. I wasn't, doing drugs. My life was really good. Traveling a lot. So we had a really good time. We fell in love. And it'll be 8 years together this November.
And so what has it been like navigating your social media career, or your content creating career with your spouse? Has he does he help with the team, or is he part of the team, or what's that like?
Not really, but here, okay, this is a funny story. So he is a big part of my channel now, because we do a lot of N of 1 experiments on him, because he didn't have a similar easy experience with carnivore like I did. But in the beginning, so when I started my YouTube channel, my very first one, he hated it. He never wanted to be on camera. It was like pulling teeth to get him. And the second channel, it was Goran and Jen. So it's like, you can't not be on the screen, Goran, It was hilarious. But then when I started making some money on the channel, he was like, this is legit. Okay, I guess I'll wrap my head around being on camera. So now he's really good. Okay. He'll be in videos, and, sometimes he'll begrudgingly, be like, oh, are you filming again? But, that's just kind of life. So we have to figure out some boundaries of like, okay, we're not going to film on this trip. We are on this one, or whatever. But yeah, he's so much better now. But he hated it at first. Hated it.
How did you get so good at creating such good videos? I mean, is that a skill that you learned along the way, or is it just kind of a part of, like, are you just naturally good at it, or you know what I mean? Like, people obviously love your videos. I do as well, and they're very well edited. And do you have like a professional editor working with you guys?
So I edited all my videos up until about a year and a half ago. Okay. I have an editor now for most of my videos, not the podcasts. I do that myself still, but everything else I send it off. So I think a lot of it goes back to the creative and performing arts program in Rockford from 6th to 12th grade. I learned a lot. Not about video production, but just about like theater and tech theater and like all of these different aspects to it, storytelling. And then when I started doing YouTube, I really dove headfirst into the tutorials on YouTube about how to become a better YouTube creator. It's all about storytelling. And then for me, I also script almost all of my videos. So that I hate fluff. I hate it when I go into a video and they waste 20 minutes of my time before they get into anything. So I really endeavor to like keep it tight. I only want to get you the information you need. You get in, you get out. And I think the audience appreciates that. And then just constantly learning. When you start a YouTube channel, you just have to get the content out there. Your first videos are going to suck. It is inevitable. It happens to literally every single person. No one is good from the first video, So you just keep doing it. At this point, I've made, like 500 and something videos for Jenny Mitich channel, but I've also made like 200 for Adventures in Jennyland. I've made, hundreds for Goran and Jen. My second channel, Jenny Mitich, etc., because I kind of started that one to go back to the vlog style content that I enjoy doing, like my holiday decor. I'm not going to put that on the main channel, but I love Halloween. So I'm going to put that up there. So I've made probably, 1,000 to 1,500 videos. And you just get better at it when you do that. So that's
why is it so? How is it that content creators like yourself, you just seem to have like 36 hours in a day? Like, how do you get it all done? You know what I mean? Wish. Like, why? How are you so productive?
Intense planning and organization. I'm a psychopath.
Okay.
Psychopath. I have my planner. I still do paper. Yeah. Old school, baby. I literally, everything is planned out. I have a daily list. I have that. And then I also use technology, obviously. I have my iPhone. So I script all my videos on here. And I have an entire note that is just my content schedule of what I'm doing for that month. I'm sitting in my office now. Up until a few months ago, I was just recording out of my living room, which I could only record when my boys were sleeping, but they're going to be 4. So they're not going to obviously be napping much longer. So we had to get an office space. So now I have my backdrop, I have my lights and my camera. I can just come in here, set up and shoot. And that has been a game changer for me. Game changer. As far as script creation, I have endless ideas, but I use ChatGPT to help with a lot of that. Honestly, like I write out a script and then I put it into ChatGPT and it makes it better, makes it cleaner, refines it. And then I'll go in and tweak some things. But I can bang out scripts left and right now instead of having to spend so much time doing that. Eventually I will hire more people. But for right now, my editor is in Croatia. I'll probably hire a social media or website person next. So I need somebody to help me with all of that, the short form content and the comments, endless comments. And,
what's always fascinating to me is like, how is it that sometimes it sticks for people and sometimes they just continually get stuck in this cycle of repetition, falling back into old patterns and behaviors. And like, so why is it, what is the mindset then that gets it to actually stick and get out and get some traction? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think mindset, you said it, it's key. Nobody is going to help you. Nobody is going to do the work. You have to do it yourself. And you have to make up your mind that you're going to change. Now, that doesn't mean that, I've made up my mind, I'm going to do the work. That doesn't mean it happens overnight. Like my evolution to who I am today took decades. When I made that decision sitting in that jail cell, I was 26 years old and I'm currently 41. So all of the work that I've done up until that point. It was just small incremental changes and daily making that decision that I am changing my life. I had a counselor in my last rehab that said, you have to make your life so good that you wouldn't risk doing drugs to ruin it. You know what I mean? Like, make your life so good that you wouldn't do drugs. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've done. Like, I don't even think about drugs. A lot of people go to AA and NA for the rest of their lives. Like, that's not the path that I went on. I did that for the first couple of years, but then after that, it's just like, I am no longer around anybody that does that stuff. I'm a complete straight edge. I barely even drink anymore. I think I drink a couple times a year, one drink, it's not part of my life, and my life is so amazing. So, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard, but every single human has this inside of them where they can make that decision. And now in 2025, gosh, we have access to so much information. Yeah. You ChatGPT and YouTube and Google, and you can find out anything. So if you have a curious mind, I think that's really helpful too. I've even when I was in my hardcore drug addiction, I was still reading books. I was still curious, always have been. I'm not the type of person that just sits around. I'm literally never bored, ever. I always have something going on or something I'm interested in that I'm passionate about. So I think that's key too. Yeah. But I think anybody can change their lives, and it doesn't have to be crazy like me. My transformation is wild, but it can just be as simple as learning new skills and getting a job that you've always wanted. Going out in the world and traveling is huge for some people. Just being able to change your perspective by learning about other cultures and stuff. You can do it. You just have to figure out a plan and work towards it incrementally.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very well said. Well, before we wrap up, I definitely want to geek out a little bit on keto and carnivore and all that fun stuff, because I myself have experienced the mental health shift from going in, as is so common. I struggle with anxiety and depression, and just, the thoughts just constantly wrapping through your heads, through your mind. And I know, so I remember a few years ago, I was going to try the keto diet, and I just remember feeling amazing on keto. And then as life happens, you just kind of lose it, and you kind of fall back into the normal, more or less, healthy diet that everybody thinks is healthy. And then actually earlier this summer, around July, I was like, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to commit again. And I really took a hard stab at the keto, and probably, it took me 5, 6, 7 weeks, before I really kind of fell into a better, eating habits and changing my diet. But then sometime in August, I remember there was a clear shift. All of a sudden I was like, wow, my anxiety levels just dropped. My satiety is so much more level. I swear I could tell the moment when my body was like, all right, we're going to use, we're going to stabilize your insulin levels. We're going to burn on ketones. And then when I started watching your channel, I'm like, hell yeah, let's do some carnivore too. That's right up my alley. Keto and carnivore are kind of cousins, right? And
carnivore is basically the lowest carb ketogenic diet you can do.
Yeah. Yep. How common is it for people to think of their diet as a mental health solution? You know what I mean? Is that yet gaining traction across the U.S.? Or because it was a clear shift in myself, and I just want to, evangelize it, get out there and be like, hey, you can actually become more mentally sane just through your diet, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Dr. Georgia Eads' book is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, getting that message out to people. Because I know for me, when I was suffering from mental health stuff, I never thought, I thought I was eating a healthy diet. I was eating low fat and chicken and lots of fruits and vegetables and all this stuff. And I was not seeing success with my mental health. My shift was pretty quick too. I can't remember an exact moment like you can, but after a few months on carnivore, I didn't need my anxiety medication anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't even have a prescription for it anymore. I literally I am just good all the time. Even through some really, really hard stuff. Like last summer, I had a family member that had a medical emergency and I was their caretaker for a month while they were in the hospital. Even then, I didn't have anxiety or depression. I was stressed out, but I was operating at a much higher optimal baseline. So no, I don't think enough people realize how much their diet influences their mental health. And more people do, because it's an epidemic. It's like at least 1 billion people in the world are suffering from something mental health related that can easily be solved with food.
Yeah. And do you feel the mental clarity as well? Like, are you able to think more clearly on a ketogenic or on a low carb diet?
Yeah. And I've had the opportunity to test this. I tried the sugar diet for 8 days. And as an experiment, because everyone was talking about it this summer, I'm like, oh, this is perfect for an N of 1. So I did it, and my mental clarity went down so quickly. Like I couldn't find words, lots of brain fog, and then my anxiety came back on day 7. So then I got back to full carnivore, and it all came back. So I've been able to see the juxtaposition between a high carb and basically 0 carb diet. Yeah, it's incredible.
What do you say to the person who says, I don't have the discipline to eat like that, or like, like I don't have the discipline to eat carnivore, or like to plan my meals, or whatever it is. So do you have anything, any words of advice for that person?
Yeah, you do. You just have to get out of that negative self-talk. If you tell yourself you can't do something, you won't do it. You can't do it. If you tell yourself you can, you can. You can literally do anything. You are the author and the artist of your own life experience. So what I always do is the word can't doesn't exist in my vocabulary. Sometimes it's like, I won't do that because I don't have time, but I can't do that. Sure, I can figure it out. So I think mindset first. And also, when you're starting carnivore, that's very common to think that. Everybody thinks that. I thought that. I thought like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? This is so crazy. It's going to be so difficult. It's like the easiest dietary philosophy to follow on the planet. For breakfast today, what did I eat? I had a can of sardines and a couple of hard-boiled eggs. And then today for dinner, I'm going to have like a 14-ounce ribeye cooked in my air fryer because my husband is fasting right now. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm satiated. I feel great. I'm not hungry all the time. And my mental health is awesome. I'm losing weight. And my metabolic health is like through the roof. It helps me manage my Hashimoto's hypothyroid stuff too. So like, it's not as hard as you think. So change your thoughts, get that word can't out of your vocabulary, but also like just do it for 30 days and you'll see like, oh wow, this is actually really easy.
That was going to be my follow-up question, is like, what is the minimum commitment that you need to make before you can really feel the shift or the benefits? Like, and in your opinion, about 30 days? Yeah.
I mean, minimum. I think 30 days is what you need for your body to just get used to the diet, to get through all the different digestive stuff when you shift over. And then I think a minimum of 90 to really see what it can do for you. A lot of people in that time lose a lot of weight. They start to have improvements in their metabolic health conditions that they're dealing with, skin issues, mental health, type 2 diabetes, regulation in their blood sugar levels normalize, their blood pressure goes down. It's pretty remarkable. And if that doesn't happen for somebody in the first 90 days, there's some little tweaks you can do to get it moving in the right direction. But for most people, that's what they experience. So yeah, I say just commit to 30 days in the beginning, because 90 days seems like a long time, and then recommit to another 30 when you hit that. But I think 90 is a really good sweet spot to see if it's going to work for you.
Well, what's on deck for you, Jenny? I know you got a book coming out. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yes. So this is what I've been doing recently. My book, Complete Carnivore. It's a complete in-depth guide to the carnivore diet. When I wrote this book, I wanted to write the encyclopedia for the carnivore diet. Sean Baker's book, The Carnivore Diet, came out in 2019. It's amazing. But there's so much more info out there now. So this is a complete in-depth guide. It has a troubleshooting chapter. It has an entire chapter on monitoring your progress through blood work and scans and different stuff. But there's also 80 carnivore recipes in here. So it's like 2 books in one. This is good for beginners. It's good for people that have been carnivore forever. So this is coming out on November 4th. Pre-orders are now available. So that is going on for the next 3 weeks. And then if people pre-order, they get access to this bonus PDF completely for free with 2 additional recipes and a bunch of other resources in it as a thank you for pre-ordering, because that's a big deal for authors. So I've just been promoting that, basically going on different shows. And I went on the Tamron Hall show. That was fun.
Wow.
And I'm going out to Hack Your Health. Hack Your Health is the conference that's coming up on November 14th through the 16th. And then I'm going on Dr. Lisa Wiedemann's low-carb cruise. So basically, through the end of the year, it's just going to be lots of interviews and travel and promoting the book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that.
I love your story, Jenny. And I think, I think what you're doing in the world is just incredible. I mean, it's just, spreading so much good information in such an easy, digestible way that it, no fluff and just so packed with information. That's really what you're not wasting anybody's time. That's clear. But
trying not to. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it. I'm really passionate about this. I really want as many people as possible to regain their baseline metabolic health. Yeah. When you're sick, you can't really do anything else. You can't be creative. You can't help change the world in your own special way. And if we can all just get back to that baseline level of health, the things we could do as a society are remarkable. Yeah. So that's kind of my passion project.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah. And, I just to piggyback on that, like what has become normal in the US is so abnormal. It's so crazy. Like what a normal diet is and just a normal weight and a normal, exercise level. And it just takes people like you to just show the world like, hey, like we can think differently about this. And you're not susceptible to the virus every winter that comes through the communities and it knocks everybody out on, and things like that. And you can really your body can fight off so much more when you are healthy. That's for sure.
Yeah. When you give your body the correct fuel, it's remarkable what it can do.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Okay. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Jenny. And I wish you the best with your book launch and all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. This was super fun. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining us. If you want to find out more about us and our mission, check out brilliantlifejourney.com.